Okay, Fastlane 2021. Technically the first WWE pay-per-view to stream on Peacock, and oh boy, this was a disaster in more ways than one, unfortunately. I don't know if this applied to anyone else. Maybe it's because I side installed or whatever it is, Peacock onto my Fire Stick, but it did not work on the Fire Stick. I've streamed some stuff on my Roku. I have Peacock on my Roku. On my Roku TV, that worked. I've done some streaming stuff with Peacock on my Xbox One, and that worked. But the Fire Stick that I take to my father's when I do these things on this time of year, you know, the Fire Stick has worked pretty well, but it just, ooh, I don't know. Again, I don't know if it's because it's Peacock's on Amazon Fire and did the side install thing, or, you know, my Fire Stick's kind of old. It's about 6 years old. I mean, a lot of the buttons are starting to wear out too. That was a problem. But yeah, it's like I could get Peacock to come on. You know, I could enter the app and everything, but whenever I clicked to play something, it would just throw me back to the main menu. Yeah, if I went on demand, if I went to live, it just showed a black screen with a loading monitor on there, and it just kept going and going, and it's like, oh, nuts to this. And so I watched the pre-show on YouTube. I then switched over to the Cultaholic Watch Along live stream and streamed the pay-per-view on my phone. There it worked fine. So again, I'm thinking it's my streaming device is probably shot, at least from that idea. So yeah, anyway, so yeah. And also, I did try to go back into WWE Network, because you still could technically do that, at least for today, up until midnight tonight. But it said it needed an update, and then I clicked the update thing, and it didn't update. I clicked the update thing, it didn't update. I clicked the update thing, it didn't. It's like, I'm just tired of this. So yeah, so we're already starting off on a real bad foot, and then they're talking some things on the pre-show. One of the funny things is they said Shane versus Braun Strowman was still happening, even though they already said that was being taken off the card. They already had that as not being on the card anymore, so why were they still trying to play into that storyline? Anyway, there was a show on the kickoff show, a match on the kickoff show, and that was the United States Championship match, Matt Riddle versus Mustafa Ali. Ali came in, he slapped Riddle, who got him in a takedown, but Riddle went for his running senton, but Ali blocked it with his knees. He tossed Riddle in the ring post. Ali began jawing with Retribution, who were surrounding ringside. He fought out of a Bro Derek and then drop kicked Riddle into the turnbuckle. Ali hit a backstabber and kind of in the process actually tweaked his own knee. So yeah, he began selling a knee injury. Riddle came back. He countered a kind of roll-up attempt into a rear naked choke. Ali fought out of that. Riddle hit a Pele kick, then a punt kick, and then the final flash. Ali then countered the floating bro with his knees up, again, further injuring his knees. Riddle countered a small package attempt into a Fisherman Buster. Ali then fought out of the Fisherman Buster and locked on the Koji clutch. But then Riddle managed to maneuver Ali over into the turnbuckle and caught him into hit a Bro Derek from the second ropes for the 3 count of the victory. And Retribution did not involve themselves in the match. They actually listened to him and told him when he said to stay out. But of course, he then chewed them out for not getting involved in the match. And this proved to be the breaking point as Mia Yim, Reckoning, Mia Yim, Slapjack, who I think is still Shane Thorne. They basically both left, and Ali was screaming at them, but they didn't come back. He then turned to Dominik Dijakovic and the other one. Is that still Dio Madden? I can't remember. And they hit him with a double choke slam. So yeah, Retribution is no more, apparently, maybe, but Ali is definitely not part of the group anymore, at least. Yeah, the match itself was okay. It's weird given what happens later, because you'd think they would probably set up a thing where the babyface, Riddle, or when we get to the other undercard title, like maybe they win the belt back at WrestleMania, where, yeah, okay, you got that kind of WrestleMania moment type thing, but no, they didn't do that. And you got to wonder where exactly any of this is going to go. As for Retribution, I guess breaking up, not entirely sure there. Hey, at least maybe now they could actually be more of a threat again. Something they were and the other thing too is they didn't unmask, which is the other thing that really should happen. They should have unmasked, because that would have helped add some oomph to that, because they didn't have really characters to begin with. So have them all be recognized for their real selves would probably have worked a lot better. Okay, so yeah, here's where I moved over to my combination phone and the Cultaholic live stream, just to have something on the TV playing while that happened. So we're not standing there looking at my phone at a weird angle. But yeah, this is the show proper, and that's the women's tag team match. Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax against Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks. They already showed some backstage footage. Sasha and Bianca arguing over Reginald, even though he's actually came out with Baszler and Jax. So yeah, are they going? Yeah. But they're sowing the seeds for the ascension between the future WrestleMania opponents there. Belair kind of started out, countered a clothesline into a backslide attempt. Nia hit Sasha Banks with an avalanche and then tossed her in the corner. Belair drop kicked Jax so that Banks could perform a proper head scissors takeover. Jax hit another avalanche in the corner on Belair. Baszler came in and hit a jumping knee on Belair. As this was happening, Adam Pacitti was fielding a lot of AC/DC questions, because he said he didn't like AC/DC. Banks came back and, let's see, she had a couple of meteors on the Jackson Baszler. Bianca went for a 450, but Reginald interfered. Bianca kind of went after Reginald, and then Sasha kind of moved to defend them. That got into a bit of a brawl, and Baszler rolled up Banks for the 3 count of the victory. Yeah, and that was pretty much it. And then afterwards, Sasha and Bianca began arguing again. They kind of shoved each other, and that's sort of how it ended. So yeah, this should have been a much better match than it was. It was just a real clunker, not aided at all by a terrible ending. And so yeah, from that, just again, like a terrible ending, a very lackluster build now to what is supposed to be a really good match at WrestleMania. I hope in the next few weeks they can resuscitate this a little bit, because they did some damage here. It really didn't help at all. They killed a lot of momentum for Bianca and Sasha at Mania. And then we had a little bit backstage. Again, the Shane McMahon, Braun Strowman thing, they decided they're going to have Shane get injured during a training session earlier in the day. And so he's not able to compete, so he has Elias and Jackson Ryker take on Braun Strowman instead. Yeah. Okay, and so we go on to our third match, the second match on the show proper, the Intercontinental Championship match, Big E versus Apollo Crews. Right off the bat, this thing started with some high-impact maneuvers. Big E speared Apollo through the ropes right off the bat, like right after the bell rang. So yeah, Big E went for multiple splashes on the apron. He had 2 big belly-to-belly suplexes. Apollo then came back with a drop kick to the knee. This is weird, because Apollo is staging the comeback. He's the heel in this match. He's the guy we're not supposed to want to win, but yet now he's rallying. But yeah, he came back in. He had a big spine buster. He had a frog splash. And then when Big E kicked out, Apollo actually maintained the waist lock long enough to hit 2 German suplexes. Big E then, I think Apollo went for either his Olympic Slam or his catch powerbomb finisher, which, if he had pulled that off, that really would have been impressive. But yeah, he went for some type of finishing maneuver, but Big E kind of countered that into a small package. And that's where this, yeah, it's like, it was supposed to be into a small package or something, and the ref counts to 3, even though it's like it was a very clumsy pin. Like, at some point they couldn't hold it, and Big E was barely clinging on, and it was unclear as to whether or not Apollo's shoulder was up. It looked like just this botched finish, and sadly, it was a really decent matchup until that point. Like, everything fell apart. So it counts as a 3 count, Big E wins, and then immediately Apollo starts attacking Big E again. He's saying, it's my time, it's my time. It's not over yet. It's multiple Olympic slams on Big E, and that was it. So, yeah. Yeah, kind of a real dud of a match there, unfortunately. What started out really well, it just completely fell apart again at the end. Then we actually have our Braun Strowman versus Elias with Jackson Riker, because it turns out to just be a one-on-one match. Elias comes out thinking he's going to perform a song. I should point out the weird thing they did with this backstage segment, because Elias and Riker approached Shane because Elias wants to be at Mania. So they give him a match at Fastlane. Okay. Anyway, Elias starts to perform a song, but then Shane goes, oh, yeah, you're actually facing Strowman. You're my replacement tonight. Strowman comes out. Shane just vanishes. You think, oh, he's going to play into this. He's going to turn out, he faked the injury. He's going to attack Strowman. Nope. Instead, Strowman squashes Elias, hits a chokeslam and the running power slam for the 3 count. Yeah, that was nothing. So, yeah, and then that was followed by a backstage segment with Riddle talking to Shinsuke Nakamura about scooters or something. I don't know what they're trying to do there, if anything. It was just really confusing and kind of, again, alright. But that does lead into Shinsuke Nakamura versus Seth Rollins. If you recall, Rollins this week has been attacking Cesaro. He hit Cesaro a couple of times. So Nakamura came out and challenged him to a match at Fastlane. This is how the show actually began to turn back up, because Nakamura hit a big knee. Rollins powdered out of the ring. Nakamura came in, hit a jumping kick, kind of a jumping spin kick on Rollins, but then Rollins came back and flying knee off the apron. Rollins hit a fireman gutbuster. He hit a backbreaker. Rollins began bragging to Michael Cole and Corey Graves about he was the Shinsuke is the king of strong style. Well, I'm just as strong as he is. Nakamura comes back, he had a big knee drop on the apron. Rollins attempted to do Cesaro's swing, but Nakamura countered that into an armbar. Rollins threw Nakamura off the turnbuckle. Rollins came back, hit a flying knee and then a sling blade. Both men hit enziguris on each other. Nakamura hit a German suplex, kind of that hits the German suplex where he kind of slides through the rope. He catches Rollins on the ropes, but then he slides through the ropes to toss Rollins back onto his head. Rollins came back, hit the buckle bomb and the Falcon Arrow. Nakamura countered a curb stomp into a Michinoku driver. Rollins then countered the Kinshasa into this kind of wheelbarrow kick. Like that, he dodged it. He went for a kick, but Nakamura dodged it, but Rollins came back and caught Nakamura on the back of the head. It wasn't a super kick type maneuver. It was more like a swinging spin kick maneuver. And then Rollins hit the curb stomp for the 3 count of the victory. A really good, solid match to help pick this show up a lot. This really helped. Like I said, this is when everything began to turn back into a really good shit. It just suddenly began from starting really, really low, and it began to pick back up. Like, this was, you could argue this was match of the night. I mean, it was, I know some people, like I said, I was watching the Cultaholic stream, and Pacitti said, this was a pretty good SmackDown match. I don't know why it was on a pay-per-view, but hey, it was at least a good match. So, again, even he was pretty backhandedly complimentary to it, but yeah, I thought it was mostly telling there. Alright, and that leads us into our next match, the no-holds-barred match between Drew McIntyre and Sheamus. McIntyre is already said to be the #1 contender at WrestleMania, so don't know what this match is really for other than to finally blow off their feud, I guess. Yeah, this is probably where the real misstep with this thing was. Like, why not have the match be for the #1 contendership, and then that way McIntyre can go to WrestleMania? Again, instead they just gave McIntyre the WrestleMania spot. Right off the bat, McIntyre came out in the Braveheart face paint. Sheamus yelled at him. The two immediately began throwing punches. McIntyre clotheslined Sheamus out of the ring. McIntyre threw Sheamus into the post. He then began clearing off the announce table. Sheamus came back, hit a jumping knee, threw McIntyre into the ring steps. Sheamus attacked McIntyre with some kendo sticks. McIntyre hit 2 glass cow kicks and attacked Sheamus with the kendo stick. McIntyre hit the White Russian leg sweep and then jammed the kendo stick into Sheamus's eye. Sheamus fought back. They fought outside the ring. They fought into the stands. Then they, fought up into the Thunderdome, basically. At one point, McIntyre threw Sheamus into the back of some of the LED screens up there and set off a whole bunch of pyro. McIntyre turned to suplex Sheamus off of an equipment crate. Sheamus came back, hit a bro kick, sending McIntyre over the barricade. Sheamus hit a white noise off of the barricade and through the announce table. And at this point, when Sheamus landed on McIntyre, it was clearly a pinning predicament. They had to correct it and say, well, this isn't Falls Count Anywhere. It's no holds barred, but it's not Falls Count Anywhere. So you still have to pin him in the ring. Sheamus clearly forgot to do that. And so Sheamus gets back in. He grabbed a piece of the announce table. McIntyre countered that to a future shock DDT on that piece of the announce table and followed that with Claymore for the 3 count and the victory. Like I said, a really good match. Like I said, a little scum at the end, but still very solid match, very enjoyable. Everything seemed to be cooking really well again. Everything was working fine and definitely leading into some good things here. Again, the only drawback is why wasn't this for a #1 contendership? It would have maybe had a little more punch to the match that it was really lacking, since you figured the only way McIntyre would lose is if McIntyre's not going to lose his #1 contendership, there's no stake in him losing, and the only way he would lose after that is if Lashley inserted himself in the match, which he didn't. And he didn't jump McIntyre afterwards, so yeah, it kind of is like, it was a good match, but it could have been better. Definitely was lacking in that aspect, but still a very enjoyable match overall. And that leads us into Alexa Bliss versus Randy Orton. Sorry, Randy Orton. God. Alexa Bliss versus Randy Orton. This is, a very unique bit there. This is where the delay began affecting it, because I could hear things happening on the Cultaholic stream about 2 minutes or so before they were happening on my phone. So, like, you would hear the beginning of the Randy Orton song, and then, you say, why are they cutting to the crowd here during his pose? It's because Randy needed to put the capsule of black goop in there because, he began vomiting the black goop again. Yeah, if you haven't been paying attention to this feud or this storyline in the past couple of months, there are some weird things that have happened. Anyway, Orton got out of the ring. He wiped it all off with a towel. That's when Alexa Bliss's music hits, but it wasn't the right music. It wasn't the Firefly Funhouse music. It was the original Alexa Bliss theme, which they then hastily re-put back into the Firefly Funhouse theme. Like, oops, we hit the wrong cue. But yeah, right off the bat, Alexa looked up and then threw another fireball, just barely missing Orton's face because he was charging at her. Alexa then dodged Orton, who was charging back again, and he hit the ring post. She began taunting Orton, basically led him around the ring. At that point, part of the lighting rig fell from the ceiling, almost hit him. Alexa shot another fireball as she played along the side of the ring ropes. And then the Fiend popped out. The Fiend he's showing all the burn damage. His arm is all scarred up. He has a new mask that looks like it's been fire damaged. He ripped up out of the bottom of the ring again. He didn't pull Orton down, but when he grabbed Orton, Orton flipped out. Alexa kind of drop-kicked Orton back into the Fiend, who hit the Sister Abigail. And then Randy got pinned by Alexa for the 3 count and the victory. And, the internet, especially the chat on the Cultaholic live stream, was all like, oh, poor Randy, he had to get pinned under Alexa Bliss as she straddled him on his lower torso. Yeah, that's basically what it looked like. So, like she was all, it was basically like this, except, you know, standing up. So her arms are kind of like down here, holding Orton's shoulders, and she's sitting on it. And it's like, yeah, no way that could possibly be taken out of context. Still, it was a good way to bring back the Fiend. The new Fiend outfit looks amazing. Like, holy crap, they're actually keeping continuity with this, that he was set on fire, and so now he looks all scarred and damaged, and you don't know if, like, you know, Bray Wyatt's going to pop back up or not. So, yeah, that definitely really did help set things up pretty well, and like I said, it was not a great match overall, but it had its good job. It did a good job of setting things up for Mania, and it did its storytelling very well. So yeah, those parts worked enough to compensate for any like shortness of the match or how to. Unlike say the Strowman Shane O'Mac match, which just doesn't do anything. It's just they realized, oh, that's more of a Mania match. We should have it on there than on Fastlane. This one at least worked. And that leads us into our main event, the Universal Championship match, Roman Reigns versus Daniel Bryan, with Edge as the special enforcer in the match. I guess this was a recent addition because I don't remember it being named on SmackDown at all. So yeah, anyway, this thing took 11 minutes to start. Like they showed the vignette at like 7:58. The intros started at about 8:02, and then the match didn't fully start until 8:03. So yeah, like we had Edge's introduction. Like normally you'd think that wouldn't take too much, but for some reason they entered the ring, and then nothing happened. They just stood there looking at each other the whole time, and the bell didn't ring or anything like that. So yeah, basically the story of this match was Bryan got some early shots in, which kind of actually hampered Reigns because he got some cheap shots in on his leg and his inner thigh and everything of that nature. He didn't low blow him, so he didn't get DQ'd. But yeah, then Bryan would start to go for like a heel hook or an arm bar. Reigns at one point did manage to catch him in a headlock, and Bryan was doing everything he could to avoid getting caught by Reigns at any time. But eventually Reigns did come back and he had a big drop, or he tossed Bryan into the corner. Bryan did come back with a drop kick. Reigns hit a big suplex. Began shrugging off any strikes that Bryan was throwing at him. After that, Reigns knocked Bryan off the ring apron. Bryan did come back with a big drop kick, but then Reigns threw him into the ring post. Threw Bryan into the ring post. Bryan managed to come back again. Hit a drop toe hold into the turnbuckle. Hit a flying knee after that. Reigns countered a head scissors into a Boston Crab. Bryan fought out of that. Almost got the whole head scissors over. At least got into a pinning predicament. Reigns then caught Bryan and sent him into the post, but Bryan hit a flying knee on the apron again. Bryan hit a missile dropkick after that. Bryan hit the yes kicks. Reigns dodged the last one and threw Bryan back into the corner. Bryan fought back again, locked on the yes lock, but Reigns managed to roll away from the ropes. The only thing that kept it out was that Reigns managed to just kind of elbow his way out of it. At this point, Bryan fought back again, went for a flying knee, accidentally caught the ref, and then that made Edge the new referee. After Reigns hit the spear, Edge went for the pin, but Bryan just kicked out. Bryan, what did I say here? He kicked out of the pin, yeah. Reigns then talked with Edge, telling him to do his job and what needed to be done or something. You know, they kind of jogged with each other a little bit. Bryan then caught Reigns in a guillotine and then modified that into a yes lock. It looked like everything was going well, but then Jey Uso interfered and hit Edge and hit a super kick on Bryan. Uso got a chair in the ring, but Bryan fought back, tossed him out of the ring, grabbed the chair, tried to hit Reigns, but hit Edge instead. Reigns then came back. He got Reigns put in the yes lock again, and just like Reigns was either tapping or about to pass out, but then Edge grabbed the chair and attacked Bryan. He then attacked Reigns, and then he stormed out something about his time. I can't remember. But yeah, he just walked away after that. Reigns then covered Bryan for the 3 count. A new ref had entered into the ring at that point. So yeah, this was a really good match right up until the ending, and the ending was just cluttered and confusing and overthought. And you know, again, you have to think now this is going to be a triple threat match. Like, why would you end the match this way and have Edge attack Daniel Bryan? So yeah, I guess we're going to get a triple threat match now at Mania, which makes Edge winning the Royal Rumble seem kind of pointless if he doesn't get the one-on-one match. Yeah, it's the same problem I had when they did this. I guess they want to redo WrestleMania 30, or are they going to have Bryan take the pin instead of Reigns, so that way Reigns can still maintain his momentum and get the belt back at some point. I don't know what to make of any of this. It just doesn't work at all. I was already kind of tenuous on the idea of Edge and Reigns, and now it's like Edge and Bryan and Reigns. It's like, again, you made the Royal Rumble win look kind of pointless and stupid. You made, again, it's like, you didn't think, and then you looked like there was maybe some momentum heading into Mania with Reigns and Edge, but now you have to throw Bryan in there because now you're making it look even more underwhelming, because the only way you could pump up any more interest was to do this. And it's like, everything was working pretty well up until then. Like, maybe they should have inverted it. Maybe they should have had Miz crossover or something and say, well, I lost my WWE Championship. That way I can't still go after the Universal Championship or something like that. I don't know. Just anything I think would have been better than, or even just a clean, like, heck, as much as I would have, again, why not have, Bryan, if Edge has to come in, he has to reluctantly count the 3 on Reigns or something like that. Maybe not have Jey Uso get involved, or have Jey Uso get involved, again, knock Bryan out, but, knock Edge, and then knock Bryan out, and then have Reigns hit a spear, cover Bryan for the 3 count. The Edge has to reluctantly count. He said, look, I didn't want to, but you're out in the middle of the ring. We have to have a winner. I have no choice in this scenario. But no, instead now we have to kind of turn Edge heel. And so, again, you're just making this all fall apart. And, yeah, it's like you've really undermined WrestleMania. Like, you've pretty much sabotaged, the Bianca Belair-Sasha Banks match, which, again, hopefully they can resuscitate. You sabotaged McIntyre-Lashley by not having the match between McIntyre and Sheamus be for a #1 contendership. You sabotaged that match. We still don't know if Asuka and Charlotte are going to face each other. There's, Asuka, I think has just recently got medically cleared, but now there's some talk that Charlotte might not be able to. And there's a rumor whether or not this is true. I don't want to say, so I don't want to fully comment on it. I'm not going to fully say what it is. But there's a tweet from Andrade, her fiance, who earlier had requested his release, but it was apparently denied. But then he said, hey, I got some good news today, so that's led to some other speculation. Also, Rhea Ripley's debuting on Raw, so why isn't she going after the championship? It's just, again, you only got 3 weeks to build till Mania, so this is really, 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 yeah, falling apart. Like I said, there were good matches on this show. It wasn't entirely bad, but cluttered endings, botched finishes, everything just falling apart. And, yeah, just kind of a lot of questions like why? Why was this show when it was? I mean, I would have just dropped Fastlane entirely and held Elimination Chamber like maybe the first weekend of March. If you need to have a March pay-per-view, like you had a NXT TakeOver in February, and then, yeah, maybe just delay Elimination Chamber a couple of weeks after that and hold it the first weekend of March. And then maybe that way you have a bridge, you can build Mania a little bit more after that. I mean, this is all just getting really hurried and cluttered and really looking bad. Like, I'm sure it could still be a good show, but the build is just terrible. Everything is awful. So, yeah, throw on top of that the streaming problems I had, and, yeah, I can't quite give this an F because there were really good matches on this show, and those should be praised. So I am going to give it a D. A very, very low D. I don't know if I go quite into D-, but I'll go D, I think, just for that. So, yeah, pretty cluttered up. Okay, so next video, is going to be a review for the first episode of Mighty Ducks Game Changers. And then next week's going to be really busy because I have 2 nights of NXT TakeOver, 2 nights of WrestleMania, and then probably in between that is going to be the random trade review on Ms. Marvel Volume 1. I think that's how everything's kind of setting up, at least. The calendar's gotten really confusing because, yeah, this should be... Okay, this is where I'm getting crossed up here, and I apologize, but let's see. Next Sunday is the 28th, and then the next Monday after that, I believe, is Mania weekend. At least that's what it should be, right? Oh boy. So yeah, let's see. Mania is on the 8th or the 9th and the 10th. This is where I guess this is where I'm getting crossed up. Yeah. So that's Saturday and Sunday. So is the okay? Maybe they're not. Maybe there will be enough time in between that to maybe not have to hurry everything. But I'm not entirely sure because I also want to try to get up a WrestleMania preview video or a predictions video this year. Hopefully I can. See you all next time. Hey guys, remember to check out my Patreon at patreon.com/SleepyTimeForCat Productions, where you can help me expand my wrestling coverage to stuff beyond WWE, NXT, and the occasional AEW free show.